Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd love to know what you think. Every comment helps me make the next story better. Subscribe to stay tuned. I never thought my wife would turn our marriage into an experiment, but that's exactly what happened the night she came home from her book club meeting. It was a Tuesday. I remember because I had stopped at the grocery store on the way home, picked up things for dinner. Nothing fancy, just the usual. When I walked in, Whitney was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine. Not unusual. What was unusual was the look on her face. Not angry, exactly. Determined. "Hey," I said, setting the bags down. "You're home early." She didn't respond right away. Just took a sip of her wine and looked at me like she was measuring something. I started unpacking the groceries, waiting. "I've been thinking," she finally said. I turned around. "About what?" "About us. About how things work around here." I felt my shoulders tense. Here we go, I thought. Another conversation about the dishes or the laundry or whatever small thing had built up in her mind during the day. "Okay," I said. "What's on your mind?" She set her glass down. "You don't appreciate what I do. You take me for granted." I opened my mouth to respond, but she held up her hand. "No, let me finish. I've thought about this a lot. You go through life thinking everything just happens. Dinner appears. Clean clothes appear. Bills get paid. And you don't see me doing any of it." "I do see it," I started to say. "You don't," she cut me off. "So I'm going to show you. I'm going to treat you like a roommate for a month. See how you like it. No wife duties, no emotional labor, just coexistence. Maybe then you'll understand." My stomach dropped. Not anger. Not even hurt yet. Just confusion. "What do you mean, roommate?" "I mean exactly that," she said. "We split everything 50-50. Rent, utilities, groceries, everything. We cook for ourselves. We live separate lives. Like roommates do. For 1 month. "Whitney, that's crazy. We're married." "Are we?" she asked. "Because it doesn't feel like it. It feels like I'm running a household and you're just living in it." I tried to argue. Tried to tell her this wasn't the way to handle whatever she was feeling. But she'd made up her mind. The experiment, as she called it, would start tomorrow. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. When had things gotten this bad? Sure, we'd had our issues. Every couple does. But this felt different. This felt calculated. Planned. Like she'd been building toward this moment for weeks, maybe months, and I'd been completely oblivious. I replayed conversations in my head. Small comments she'd made. Little digs about me not doing enough. I'd brushed them off. Thought she was just venting. But maybe she'd been serious all along. Maybe I'd missed something important. The next morning, everything changed. I came into the kitchen to find Whitney making breakfast. Just enough for one. She didn't look at me. Didn't offer to make extra. Just ate her eggs and toast while scrolling through her phone. I made my own coffee in silence. Before I left for work, she stopped me. "I need $1,500 from you. For your half of the rent." I stared at her. "You're serious about this?" "Completely serious," she said. "And I'll send you a Venmo request for utilities and groceries. We'll keep track of everything." I transferred the money. What else was I supposed to do? Work was a blur that day. I couldn't focus. Kept checking my phone, waiting for a message from her. Some sign that she'd reconsidered. That this was all just a dramatic way of getting my attention. But nothing came except a Venmo request for $83. Half the electric bill. When I got home that evening, she was in the living room watching TV. I sat down on the other end of the couch. She didn't acknowledge me. Just kept her eyes on the screen. "How was your day?" I asked. "Fine," she said. That was it. Fine. Like I was a stranger making small talk. The next few days followed the same pattern. She moved through the apartment like I wasn't there. Made meals for herself. Cleaned up only her own dishes. Sent me Venmo requests for everything. Internet. Groceries. The water bill. Even toilet paper. On day 3, I came home to find her in the kitchen. She'd meal prepped for the week. Containers lined up in the fridge, each one labeled with her name. I opened the freezer to find my frozen pizzas and nothing else. Day 4, she left a note on the counter. "Your dishes are still in the sink. Please handle them." I'd eaten cereal that morning. Used one bowl. Day 5, I ordered takeout. Ate it alone in the bedroom while she watched a movie in the living room. Day 6 was when it really hit me. She had friends over. I didn't know they were coming until I heard voices in the living room. I came out to find 3 of her book club friends sitting on the couch, wine glasses in hand. "Oh," one of them said when she saw me. "We didn't know you were home." Whitney barely glanced up. "That's Nathan, my roommate." The word landed like a punch. Her friends laughed, but it wasn't a joke. I could see it in her eyes. She meant it. I grabbed my keys and left. Drove around for an hour. Ended up at a coffee shop in Cambridge, sitting by myself, trying to make sense of what was happening. When I got back, her friends were gone. The apartment was dark. She was already in bed, or at least in the bedroom with the door closed. I sat on the couch and asked myself the question I'd been avoiding. When had I stopped being her husband? Day 7. Sunday. We were both home all day. She went out for brunch with friends. Came back. Went to her book club. Came back. Through it all, barely said 10 words to me. That evening, she mentioned casually that roommates don't need to know each other's schedules. I realized then what she was doing. This wasn't about teaching me to appreciate her. This was about punishing me. About proving that I'd failed somehow. And maybe I had. Maybe I'd been distracted or thoughtless or taking her for granted. But this wasn't the way to fix it. This was the way to end it. Day 8, I tried to talk to her. Really talk. Whitney, I said. Can we have an actual conversation about this? We are talking, she said without looking up from her phone. Or rather, roommates don't need to have deep conversations. I felt my jaw tighten. This is ridiculous. We're married. We made vows. Did we? She asked. Because I don't remember a vow about one person doing all the work. I do work. I contribute. She finally looked at me. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you exist in this space and I maintain it. That's not fair, isn't it? She said. Tell me the last time you noticed something needed to be done and just did it. Without being asked. Without it becoming my job to manage you. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Tried to think of an example. Came up empty. Exactly, she said. That's why we're doing this. So you can see what it's actually like to take care of yourself. But I do take care of myself, I said. You exist, she corrected. That's not the same thing. She stood up and walked away. Conversation over. I sat there for a long time after she left, thinking about what she'd said. And yeah, maybe she had a point. Maybe I had let things slide. Let her handle the mental load of running a household. But instead of telling me that, instead of asking me to step up, she decided to punish me for it. To prove how much I needed her by withholding herself completely. That's when I understood. This wasn't temporary. This was her exit strategy. Day 9. I came home from work to find Whitney's sister, Clare, sitting in our living room. She stood up when she saw me, and her expression told me everything. Whitney had been talking. Nathan, Clare said carefully. Can we chat for a minute? I set my bag down. Sure. Whitney had conveniently disappeared into the bedroom, left her sister to do the talking for her. Classic. Clare sat back down. I remained standing. Whitney told me about this arrangement you two have. She started. This roommate thing. Did she? Look, I know my sister can be intense. But she's hurting. She feels invisible in this marriage. I crossed my arms. So her solution is to make me invisible too? Claire sighed. She thinks you don't notice her. Don't see what she does. Maybe I didn't, I admitted. But this isn't the way to handle it. She didn't ask me to change. She just started punishing me for not reading her mind. Marriage is hard, Claire said. It takes work from both people. I agree. So why am I the only one working right now? She's given up. She's just waiting for me to fail whatever test she's set up. That's not what she's doing, isn't it? I asked. She treats me like a stranger. Charges me for everything. Tells her friends I'm her roommate. And you think that's her trying to fix things? Claire didn't have an answer for that. She looked toward the bedroom, then back at me. Just give her time, she finally said. Let her cool down. She'll come around. I shook my head slowly. I don't think she will. And I'm not sure I want her to anymore. I walked past Claire into the kitchen. Got a glass of water. When I came back, she was gone. The bedroom door was still closed. I didn't bother knocking. The next few days, I paid attention. Really paid attention. To how she moved through the apartment. To the way she carefully avoided me. To the satisfaction in her eyes when she sent another Venmo request. She wanted this. Wanted the separation. Wanted to prove that we were already strangers living under the same roof. Day 12. Saturday morning. We were both home. I made myself breakfast. She made hers. We ate in silence at opposite ends of the kitchen counter. After I finished, I washed my dishes. Then I turned to her. This isn't sustainable, I said. We're married. We made vows. She sighed like I was exhausting her. Vows about partnership. I don't feel like we're partners. Because you decided we weren't. You didn't ask me to change. You just decided this. I shouldn't have to ask you to be a better husband. And you think treating me like a stranger is going to fix that? She set her fork down. You'll understand when the month is up. What happens when the month is up? I asked. I guess we'll see if you've learned anything, she said. That phrase stuck with me. If I'd learned anything. Like this was a test. Like she was waiting for me to pass or fail based on criteria she'd never shared. I walked away, went into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and really processed what she'd just said. This was a test I was designed to fail. She'd already decided the outcome. The experiment was just her way of justifying what she'd already chosen, and I wasn't going to wait around for her verdict. That afternoon, I drove out to Somerville to see my brother, Chris. I hadn't told him about any of this yet. Hadn't told anyone, really. But I needed to talk to someone who wasn't invested in taking sides. Chris opened the door holding his daughter, Emma. She was 2 years old, all curls and giggles. Uncle Nathan, she squealed. Hey, sweetheart, I said, tickling her belly. She laughed and squirmed. Chris handed Emma off to his wife, Jessica, then led me out to their back porch. We sat in old lawn chairs, beers in hand. So he said, what's going on? You sounded weird on the phone. I told him everything. The experiment, the Venmo requests, the roommate comment to her friends, Whitney's sister showing up. All of it. Chris listened without interrupting. When I finished, he took a long drink of his beer. That's messed up, he finally said. Right? I mean, am I crazy? Is this normal? Nothing about that is normal, man. Marriage isn't supposed to be a punishment. That's what it feels like, though. Like she's making me pay for something I didn't know I'd done wrong. Did you ask her? Chris said. Before all this started. Did she tell you she was unhappy? I thought back. Not directly. There were comments. Little things. But nothing like this. So she went nuclear without warning. Pretty much. Chris shook his head. Jessica and I fight. Hell, sometimes we drive each other crazy. But we talk about it. We don't play games. I know. What are you going to do? I stared out at his backyard. Emma's toys scattered across the grass. A swing set. A sandbox. Evidence of a life being built together. I think I'm going to leave, I said quietly. Chris didn't look surprised. Yeah? Yeah. I've been thinking about it. This isn't sustainable. And I don't think she wants to fix it. I think she wants an excuse to end it. You might be right, Chris said. But that's a big decision. I know. But staying feels worse. We sat in silence for a while. Then Chris asked, you need a place to stay? I appreciate it, but no. I'll figure something out. I just needed to say it out loud. Make it real. It's real, Chris said. And for what it's worth, I think you're making the right choice. Life's too short to live with someone who treats you like an inconvenience. I finished my beer, stayed for dinner, played with Emma, watched Chris and Jessica move around each other in their kitchen with easy familiarity. The kind of partnership Whitney and I used to have. Or maybe we never had it. Maybe I just convinced myself we did. When I left, Chris walked me to my car. Call me if you need anything, he said. I mean it. I will. Thanks for listening. That's what brothers are for. I drove back to Boston thinking about what he'd said. About partnerships. About people who build together instead of tearing down. About knowing when to walk away. By the time I pulled into our parking garage, I'd made my decision. Day 13. I made my decision. If she wanted a roommate, she could have one. But roommates don't stay where they're not wanted. Roommates leave when the arrangement doesn't work. I started researching. Tenant rights. Lease terms. Our lease allowed 30-day notice from either party. Both our names were on it. I could leave legally. I could leave financially. I could leave emotionally. I started looking at apartments. Found one in Cambridge, near Kendall Square. Smaller. Cheaper. But entirely mine. I put down a deposit. Signed a lease to start in 3 days. Day 14. Monday. Whitney went to work. I stayed home, called in sick. Started packing. I took only what was mine. Clothes. Books. Electronics. Important documents. Left everything else. The furniture. The kitchen stuff. The decorations. All of it could stay. I packed systematically. Quietly. Made sure everything looked normal from the outside. Boxes in the closet where she wouldn't see them. She came home that evening. Walked right past the closet. Didn't notice a thing. Of course she didn't, I thought. Roommates don't pay attention to each other's lives. That night, I made an appointment with a divorce attorney. Consultation scheduled for day 16. The day after I'd be fully moved out. I felt calm. Clearer than I'd felt in weeks. Maybe months. This wasn't anger. It wasn't revenge. It was just the logical conclusion of what she'd started. While I was packing the last of my things into boxes, someone knocked on the door. I opened it to find Mrs. Hernandez from across the hall. She was holding a casserole dish covered in foil. "Nathan," she said warmly, "I made too much again. Thought you and Whitney might want some." I hesitated. Took the dish. "That's really kind of you. Thank you." She peered past me into the apartment. "Everything okay?" I heard some moving around. "Just reorganizing," I said quickly. "Spring cleaning. In September?" She smiled knowingly. "Okay, honey. You don't have to tell me. But if you need anything, you know where I am." "I will. Thank you." She patted my arm. "You're a good man, Nathan. I hope you know that." After she left, I stood there holding the casserole. Mrs. Hernandez had lived across from us for 3 years. Always friendly. Always bringing food. She'd seen Whitney and me come and go together, heard us through the walls, watched us grow from newlyweds into whatever we'd become. And somehow, she could tell something was wrong just from the sound of boxes being moved. I put the casserole in the fridge, made a mental note to return the dish to her before I left for good. Some things mattered, even at the end. Day 15, Tuesday morning. Whitney left for work at her usual time. I waited until I heard her car pull away. Then I moved, loaded everything into my car, made 3 trips, called the landlord, gave 30-day notice on my portion of the lease, explained I was separating from my wife. The landlord was professional about it, said he understood, asked me to confirm in writing. I sent the email right there. Transferred exactly $1,500 to Whitney with a note. My half. 30-day notice given to landlord. I took one last look around the apartment. For years we'd lived here. For years of marriage. 6 years together total. And it came down to this. Me loading boxes into a car while she was at work. Before I left, I went into the bedroom one more time. Retrieved the envelope from my bag. The divorce papers I'd picked up from the attorney's office the day before. I'd filled out my portion completely. Left space for her signature. I placed them on her pillow, right in the center where she couldn't miss them. Next to the papers, I left a note. You wanted a roommate. Roommates don't stay in failed arrangements. Roommates leave when it doesn't work. You were right about one thing. We should see this for what it is. I'm seeing it clearly now. Attorney contact information is included. I didn't sign it. Didn't need to. She'd know. I walked out at 3:47 in the afternoon. Pulled the door closed behind me. Drove to Cambridge. My new apartment was empty. Bare walls. Unfamiliar sounds. I unpacked slowly. Set up my bed. Arranged my books. Plugged in my laptop. Then I sat on the couch I'd bought the day before. Cheap thing from a furniture store. Not comfortable yet. But mine. I felt quiet inside. Not sad. Not angry. Just quiet. My phone rang. My mother. I'd been avoiding her calls for days, knowing she'd hear something in my voice. I answered anyway. "Nathan, honey," she said. "I haven't heard from you in a while. Everything okay?" "I'm fine, Mom." "You don't sound fine. What's going on?" I took a breath. Told her. Not everything. Just the basics. The experiment. The leaving. The divorce papers. She was silent for a long moment. "Oh, sweetheart," she finally said. "I'm okay." "Really? Are you?" "Because that's a lot to go through alone." "I'm not alone. I have Chris. I have friends. And I have myself." "That's good," she said. "But you can have your mother too. You know that, right?" "I know. Do you love her?" "Whitney, I mean. Do you still love her?" The question caught me off guard. I thought about it. Really thought. "I loved who I thought she was," I said. "But the person who could do this? Who could turn our marriage into a game? I don't think I know that person well enough to love them." My mother sighed. "Sometimes people surprise us. Not always in good ways." "Yeah, for what it's worth," she said, "I think you're being very brave. A lot of people would stay in something that makes them miserable just because it's familiar. I don't want to be miserable." "Then you're already ahead of most people." She paused. "When you're ready, I'd love to come visit your new place. See where you're landing. I'd like that. I love you, Nathan." "Love you too, Mom." After we hung up, I felt steadier. Grounded. Having someone in your corner matters, even when you're standing on your own 2 feet. At 6:15, my phone buzzed. "Where are you?" I stared at the message. Didn't respond. Made myself dinner instead. Pasta. Nothing fancy. But I made it for myself, in my own kitchen, without anyone keeping score. 20 minutes later, I sent a reply. I moved out. Gave 30-day notice. You'll get my half of rent for the next 30 days. The phone started ringing immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call. Another voicemail. Text messages started flooding in. "What are you talking about? You can't just leave. We need to talk about this. Call me. This is insane." I silenced my phone. Finished my dinner. Wash my single plate. My single fork. Put them in my own dish drainer. At 7:23, the tone of the messages changed. You left divorce papers. I picked up my phone. Typed out a response. You wanted to see what happened after the experiment. Now you know. The reply came fast. Roommates don't just leave. I smiled. Couldn't help it. Typed back. You're absolutely right. Waited a beat. Then added. Husbands don't stick around to be treated like strangers. I turned on Do Not Disturb. Went to bed early. Slept better than I had in 2 weeks. Day 16. Wednesday. I met with the attorney. Filed the paperwork officially. No-fault divorce. Irretrievable breakdown of marriage. Clean and simple. The attorney asked if I wanted to try mediation first. I said no. She asked if there were children involved. I said no. She said it should be straightforward then. 3 to 6 months, depending on how cooperative my wife was. I paid the retainer. Signed the papers. Walked out feeling lighter. My phone was full of messages when I turned it back on. We can talk about this. I didn't mean for it to go this far. This is extreme. You're throwing away 4 years over 1 month? I didn't respond to any of them. Thursday. More messages. I was just trying to make a point. Can we please talk? Friday. The messages slowed down. She was starting to realize I was serious. Saturday. A week since I'd left. One message. Can we at least meet to discuss this like adults? I thought about it. Decided yes. Not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I wanted closure. The kind that comes from saying what needs to be said face to face. I suggested a coffee shop in Copley Square. Public. Neutral. Nowhere near our old apartment or my new one. Sunday morning. I arrived first. Ordered a black coffee. Sat by the window. Whitney walked in 10 minutes later. She looked tired. Hair pulled back. No makeup. I'd never seen her look so worn down. She sat across from me. Didn't order anything. Just folded her hands on the table and looked at me. I thought you'd fight for us, she said quietly. I took a sip of coffee. Gave myself time to think. To choose my words carefully. You didn't want me to fight, I finally said. You wanted me to fail. The experiment was designed so that no matter what I did, I'd prove your point. That I wasn't good enough. That I didn't appreciate you. That I'd taken you for granted. And maybe I did. Maybe I wasn't perfect. But you didn't give me a chance to fix it. You just decided it was broken and waited for me to confirm it. That's not fair, she said. Isn't it? I asked. You turned our marriage into a test. Treated me like a stranger. Told your friends I was your roommate. And now you're surprised that I took you at your word? She looked down at her hands. I just wanted you to see what I do. To appreciate it. You could have talked to me. Really talked. Not just announced an experiment and expected me to figure out the right answer. I tried talking, she said. Did you? Or did you make passive-aggressive comments and wait for me to read your mind? She didn't answer. I finished my coffee. Set the cup down. Looked at her directly. I hope you find what you're looking for. But it's not going to be with someone who accepts being treated like they're tolerated instead of loved. So that's it. She asked. You're just giving up? I'm choosing myself, I said. There's a difference. I stood up. She didn't try to stop me. Didn't say anything else. Just sat there with her hands folded on the table, looking at the space where my coffee cup had been. I walked out. Got in my car. Drove back to Cambridge. The weeks that followed were strange. Not bad strange. Just different. I settled into routines. Cooking for one. Cleaning for one. Making decisions without consulting anyone. The divorce moved forward. Whitney contested it at first. Wanted to try counseling. I declined. Then she accepted it. Hired her own attorney. We divided assets cleanly. No kids. No complex property. Just 2 people untangling 4 years of shared life. 2 weeks after I'd moved out, I was at a coffee shop in Harvard Square when someone called my name. Nathan? Nathan Foster? I turned to see Brian Kemp, a friend from college I hadn't seen in probably 5 years. He looked good. Older, but good. Brian, holy shit. How are you? We hugged briefly. He gestured to my table. Mind if I sit? Please. He got his coffee and joined me. We caught up on the basics. He was working in tech. Had gotten married 2 years ago. Living in Brookline. What about you? He asked. Still with Whitney? The question stung more than I expected. Actually, no. We're getting divorced. His face fell. Man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring up something painful. It's fine. It's fresh, but it's the right thing. What happened? If you don't mind me asking. I gave him the abbreviated version. The experiment. The roommate treatment. The decision to leave. Brian listened, then shook his head. That's brutal. I'm sorry you went through that. Thanks. I'm doing okay, though. Better than I expected, actually. That's good. He stirred his coffee. Can I tell you something? Sure. When Sarah and I got married, the first year was hard. Really hard. We fought about everything. Money, chores, whose family to visit for holidays. Stupid stuff, but it felt huge at the time. I nodded. One night we had this massive fight. I don't even remember what it was about. But afterward, Sarah sat me down and said something I'll never forget. She said, "We can fight all we want, but we're on the same team. If we forget that, we're done." That's good advice. It is. And we've used it ever since. When things get heated, one of us will say it. Same team. It resets things. Reminds us we're not enemies. He looked at me. It sounds like Whitney forgot that. Yeah. Or maybe we were never on the same team to begin with. Maybe. Either way, you deserve someone who treats you like a teammate, not an opponent. I appreciate that. We talked for another hour. About lighter things. Sports. Movies. Mutual friends from college. It felt normal. Easy. A reminder that life existed outside the mess I'd been living in. When we parted ways, Brian gave me his number. Let's grab drinks sometime. For real. I'd like that. Walking back to my apartment, I thought about what he'd said. Same team. Whitney and I had stopped being on the same team long before the experiment started. Maybe I'd been too blind to see it. Or maybe I'd seen it and convinced myself I was wrong. Either way, it was over now. I heard from a mutual friend that she'd taken on a roommate. An actual roommate this time. Someone to help with rent. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 weeks after leaving, I drove back to Beacon Hill one last time. I still had Mrs. Hernandez's casserole dish to return. I'd washed it carefully. Wanted to give it back in the same condition I'd received it. I parked on the street, walked up to the building. The doorman nodded at me. Wondered if he knew I didn't live there anymore. Mrs. Hernandez answered her door with a warm smile. "Nathan, come in, come in." "I can't stay long," I said, handing her the dish. "Just wanted to return this. Thank you again for the food." "You're welcome, honey." She looked at me carefully. "You look different." "Different how?" "Lighter," she said. "Like you're carrying less." I smiled. "Maybe I am." "Good." She set the dish down, then reached out and squeezed my hand. "You deserve to feel light. We all do." "Thank you, Mrs. Hernandez, for everything." She walked me to the door. As I was leaving, she called out, "Nathan?" I turned back. "Whatever you're walking toward, it's going to be better than what you left behind. Trust that." "I will." Walking back to my car, I felt her words settle into me. She was right. Whatever came next, it had to be better than living as a stranger in my own marriage. 1 month after I left, the divorce was nearly finalized. Just waiting on the court date. I ran into Whitney at the grocery store, the one we used to go to together. We both froze for a second when we saw each other. "Hey," she said. "Hey," I replied. Awkward silence. Then she asked, "Are you happy?" I considered the question. Really considered it. "I'm at peace," I finally said. "That's better than happy." She nodded. Looked like she wanted to say something more. Didn't. We went our separate ways down different aisles. 3 months after I left, the divorce was finalized. Papers came in the mail. I sat with them for a moment. Read through the legal language. The official end of a marriage. I thought about the experiment. About what it had taught me. Not what Whitney intended, but something else entirely. It taught me that I deserved better than someone who saw me as a project. Better than someone who weaponized our relationship. Better than someone who confused punishment with communication. I folded the papers. Put them in a drawer. Went about my day. 6 months after I left, I was sitting in my apartment. Different furniture now. Pictures on the walls. Plants on the windowsill. It felt like home. My phone buzzed. A text from a friend asking if I wanted to grab dinner. I replied yes without hesitation. No checking with anyone. No negotiating schedules. No guilt. I grabbed my jacket. Locked the door. Walked down the Cambridge street toward the restaurant. The night was cold but clear. I could see my breath in the air. Could see stars between the buildings. I felt light. Free. People talk about marriage like it's work. And it is. But work implies both people are building something together. She wasn't trying to build. She was trying to prove a point. And in proving it, she proved something else entirely. She proved that I was strong enough to walk away from someone who saw me as less than a partner. The experiment ended. But not the way she planned. I didn't learn to appreciate her more. I learned to appreciate myself enough to leave. I turned the corner. Saw my friend waiting outside the restaurant. Raised my hand in greeting. Smiled. Started walking faster. ready for whatever came next. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.